Hi everyone. Shit. You know what? I'm recording this in my car during lunch because I literally have no time in my life to do anything. I haven't because I work 2 jobs and I literally only get like a half an hour lunch at my day job, which is kind of crazy when you consider my Walmart job. I not only do I get 2 15-minute break, but I get an hour lunch, and then at my corporate job I get one 15-minute break and a half an hour lunch. Go figure. But anyways, that's not what we're here for. So I'm gonna quickly try to record some of this. Right now, I have 10 minutes left of my lunch. Most of the time was spent with me trying to get my mic working, set up my stand. I'm a mess. Anyway, welcome back to my channel. As you know, my name is Glory. I have a script. I'm sorry. I want to try to get through this without rambling too much. I know I tend to ramble. I'm already rambling. I'm a minute into this. I haven't even started. I probably will not be able to finish it all in one sitting. I'll probably be at my second job later on and finishing. But we're gonna do what we can. Of course, somebody's fucking parking here. God damn it. I know I should have driven somewhere to do this. I knew I should have. Hold on. I'm not gonna be able to do this. And I just realized that there's somebody right next to me. I should have gone somewhere else. Alright, so we're not finishing the video here. This is take 2. As you can see, yesterday was a complete fail in my trying to record at work. Because it felt so uncomfortable. But anyway, hi everyone. Welcome back to my channel.
Hey guys, I'm sorry for how choppy the first part of this editing is. Like, you can barely understand what I'm saying in some parts. I got a little over enthusiastic with the chopping of clips and trying to make this concise, and at some point you can't even understand what I'm saying. I'm so very sorry. It's only in the first few minutes. After that it gets a little bit smoother. I promise to do better. It will never happen again. Please bear with me. I'm still learning.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Glory. I'm a 45-year-old woman just trying to find herself in life. No. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Glory. I'm a 45-year-old woman. Full stop. I was gonna add to that, but it's like 45-year-old woman, full stop. That's a loaded statement in and of itself. Today I want to share something very personal to me, my journey to sobriety. I was inspired to make this video because for some reason on YouTube, videos have been popping up, people's journey to sobriety, which is weird because I'm not looking that up. And it just happened to be 3 days ago was my 14-year Soberversary. And I was reflecting on how far I've come in that time. And there has been ups and downs. But let me try to tell my story in the most succinct way as possible. I have chicken cooking in the microwave, in the oven. I'm gonna try to get this done before that finishes. To be clear, this is a part of my story, but it doesn't define me. This is a statement that took me years to believe. I am an alcoholic in recovery. I'm making this video to share my story in the hopes that it might inspire or help someone who's going through a similar struggle that I went through. When I was in the thick of it, I dreamt of sobriety, but never did I ever believe that life without alcohol was possible. It seemed like such an insurmountable hurdle to me. And I want to show that there is life after all alcohol, where you can not just survive, but thrive. Okay, I need to breathe. I don't know why I'm struggling so much to say this story out loud. Like, I know it's off-putting by having a paper here, but I need this. And I'm glad I have this because I'm finding this a lot more difficult than I thought it was gonna be. I don't know. I want to show that there is life after alcohol, where you can not just survive, but thrive. This is a safe space, and I appreciate your support and understanding. I was born in Puerto Rico. My mom moved us up here when I was 5. In fact, one of my very first memories, and I guess it's one of my very first traumatic memories, is the day that we left. My father found out we were leaving on the day we were walking out the door. I was 5 years old, but I vividly remember this. This was a core memory for me. He came home from work, and we were leaving. We had our bags packed. We were moving to the U.S. I mean, Puerto Rico's part of the U.S. We were moving to the mainland. And him crying and begging my mom not to take me away from him is still a core memory for me. He begged her to leave me, and just if she wanted to leave, she could leave, but just leave me. I was daddy's girl. I loved my dad. It's weird how some memories stay in your mind vividly, but the rest is a blur. I remember her coldly yelling at him because he made me cry, and that's the end of the memory. I won't get into too many details, and I'd like to take this opportunity to give a trigger warning. The man that she didn't leave by herself. Obviously, she took us kids. It was me and my brother, my sister. I don't remember if my sister came with us, or I have no idea. I don't remember. My brother and my sister were older than me. She moved up here with a man who was lodging with us. I guess they had planned it behind my father's back, and that man would proceed to sexually assault me every time we were alone from the age of 5 to 7 years old. It ended when my mom and I watched an after-school special. I don't know if you remember those after-school special from the 80s about sexual abuse. And she straight up asked me if anybody had ever touched me inappropriately. And this is another one of those moments that I remember so vividly, because I remember being like, this is my now or never. And I told her yes. And she asked me who. And I told her who. And she asked me the details, and I told her as much as I could. And despite what happened next, I do want to say, in her defense, she believed me right away. She didn't question me. So please keep that in mind when we go to the next steps. After I told her what happened, she asked me what I wanted to do. Mind you, I was 7 years old. She told me that if we go to the police, the story will be in the news and everybody will know what happened to me. She said the other option was kicking him out. Clearly, I didn't want everyone to know my story, so I chose the latter. I still vividly remember getting into my mom's Camaro in the front seat with him in the back seat. And as my mom was walking around the car to get to the driver's seat, he sarcastically thanked me for telling. Gracias por decírselo, in Spanish, obviously. But thank you for telling her. I froze. I didn't know what to say. I didn't respond. I just remember feeling terrified and ashamed and all these other emotions I just didn't know how to define. It was an awful moment. At some point, my mom began selling cocaine. We're fast forwarding here. A year or two, I guess. I don't even know. And this was 7 years old when I told my mom about it. So he's gone now. And at some point, my mom began selling cocaine. She never did drugs. She just sold them. In doing so, she started dealing in large amounts of cocaine. In the end, one of her customers ratted her out to save his own skin. And on the day that our apartment was raided, at that time I was living with my mom. It's just my mom and I. They found cocaine and about $30,000 in cash. In 1990, that was a good chunk of change. I still remember being 11 years old and walking home from the local convenience store with my penny candy, and our downstairs neighbor approaching me to tell me that my mom had been arrested. I was no fool. I knew what my mom was doing. I helped her make dime bags. We sat at our kitchen table with a giant white salad bowl filled with cocaine. She taught me how to bag, weigh, and tie. Ironically, that's one of my favorite childhood memories. We laughed and talked a lot while doing this, joked about what we would do if the police came in. It was like, yeah, we'd offer them some coffee. You want some sugar? I still remember this. Anyways, even at that age, I knew it was over. She ultimately ended up getting sentenced to 15 years in prison with 5 mandatory, meaning that she had to serve 5 years when she was eligible to get out. She got a harsh sentence, even though it was her first offense of anything, because the judge wanted to make an example of her. I guess at the time, cocaine was a problem. She ultimately served 8 years, getting out of jail when I was 18. My 19-year-old sister tried taking me in, but she was a single mom herself with 2 kids and a college student. It was fine at first because I liked babysitting my niece and nephew, so I would have been helpful to have around. But at some point, a switch flipped and I became completely rebellious. I started smoking weed, I started drinking, pilfering alcohol, hanging out with questionable people. At 12 years old, my alcohol career began. It was all too much for my sister, so she turned me over to the state, and thus began my journey into foster care. For the next 2 years, I would live in 7 foster homes and 1 group home. I ran away from all of them except the group home. I didn't experience any abuse or anything in the foster homes. I never stayed there in any of them long enough to get to that point. I didn't want to be there, so I left. I ran away. I'd sleep in the streets, go visit my friends. One huge part that I left out of here, and I'm remembering now, and I can't believe I left it out, is being 13 years old, 14, and I started selling crack. I was staying with a friend of my best friend, and her mom was a raging alcoholic, so she was basically on her own. She was basically the mom of her household, and she was a teen mom at 14, and she let me stay with her. Her mom didn't care because her mom was too busy literally drunk all the time. So I needed money, and as a runaway, I started selling crack. I met a friend of mine who was a drug dealer. He taught me how to sell, and then I started selling on the corner because I needed money for batteries for my Walkman and cigarettes and tampons and stuff like that. And then there were times when he would be gone, my flyer, and I would use soap. 14 years old, cutting up soap to make little dime bags or 20 bags of crack. Keep in mind that throughout all of this, I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, which we know now from my previous videos, I'm autistic. I didn't know that at the time, obviously, just discovered 2 years ago. So all of this is an autistic child going through all this, selling drugs at 13. At 15, my older brother took me in. I joined a local gang of teens and adults in their 20s at this point, but I wasn't getting into legal trouble. We kind of just all hung out at a punto, like our house, and people sold drugs, they sold weed. I managed to fly under the radar. We all really just hung out, drank, and smoked, with the adults getting us the alcohol. I eventually moved into the punto, or the gang house. At 16, I got pregnant with my son. I dropped out of the gang and dropped out of school and moved in with his dad. When my son was 3 months old, I attended classes to get my GED. At 17, I left his dad and moved to another city into a studio apartment with my son. I started taking classes at a local community college with a dream of becoming a lawyer. Throughout all this, I would just drink on the weekend. It was under control. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't fully affecting my life negatively. I was able to take care of my son, keep a normal social life, and keep up with school. Life was good. At 18, my mom got out of jail and my sister arranged for us to get an apartment together. My studio apartment was small and in a dangerous neighborhood. I loved it though. I loved that apartment so much. Despite my love in that apartment, I agreed to move in with my mom. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have just stayed in my apartment. At 19, I got pregnant with my daughter. And at this time, I moved in with her dad, who was verbally and physically abusive. I knew I was going to end up being a single mom of 2 kids and didn't have any work experience. So I dropped out of school to work. My relationship with her dad was awful. My mom helped me escape that relationship. She saw how miserable I was. In the time that she got out, she worked whatever fast food jobs she could find and eventually was hired back as a CNA with the employer she had before going to jail. She and my brother utilized a government program intended for first-time home buyers and bought a family apartment building. One of those apartments slated for me. Sorry, my phone went off. I still remember the day she came to visit me at home and handed me a set of keys with a butterfly keychain and told me that I'm free. I couldn't get the hell out of that apartment fast enough. My daughter's father was at work and I packed me and the kids up so fast and left before he got home from work. He came home. I mean, I couldn't take furniture with me, but he came home to us gone. At this point, after I moved into the apartment, I got a job at a good company that I had started as a temp at, doing various forms of customer service and customer support, making good money, living a good life. I had quit smoking weed at 18 and only drank on the weekend as usual. My early 20s were probably some of the happiest times of my life. My kids were in school, everything was great. I was doing so good at this point. I had various relationships here and there. Some were serious. In this time, my drinking, I don't know what happened. How I went from the happiest time in my life, living a good life, freedom, I have a good job, I have my car, my kids are good, we're having a good time. Everything's good. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my drinking continued to on an upward trajectory, as they say. My boyfriend, now husband, lived in another city and didn't have a car. So he commuted by train to see me. He knew I drank a lot, too much, he would often say to me, but he really didn't know the full extent of it. He didn't know that I woke up in the morning and the first thing I did was drink. And I would go to work drunk and drink throughout the day. I was drinking gin, like, I think, was it vodka? You can't really smell it as much. He didn't know that I would stay up all night drinking, throw up and then drink some more. Rinse and repeat all night long. I would drink, get sick, throw up, and then keep drinking and never eating or drinking actual water. If I drank water, it was mixed with gin. He saw me get sloppy drunk and he was concerned. But anybody who's dealt with an addict knows that you can talk until you're blue in the face. They're not going to change shit unless they choose to. In this time, this is probably the darkest time. And there's more crappy stuff to happen in the future, but this right here is the darkest time in my life. So many nights I would cry and beg God to help me stop drinking. I wanted to stop so bad, but I didn't know how, and I was too ashamed to ask for help. I wanted sobriety more than anything, but I genuinely did not think it was possible for me. I felt like I was in so deep that there was just no way that I was going to be able to crawl out of this. When I tried to picture my life without alcohol, it seemed insurmountable to me. I honestly did not think it was possible to live without alcohol. Eventually, I lost my job, to no one's surprise, and that's when my drinking really got out of control. I was collecting good money on unemployment. I had nowhere I had to be. I continued that cycle of drinking until I threw up, then drinking some more, etc., etc. Months of that take a toll on your body. Did you know you can drain the minerals from your body, namely potassium and magnesium, and without them you will die, and it will be agonizing. I started noticing that my legs were getting weak. Walking up a flight of stairs made me winded, really winded, like if I just ran a mile and my legs would get sore walking up a flight of stairs. At night I would get the most brutal cramps in my leg. One day I collapsed out of of nowhere in my living room. My legs just gave out on me. Luckily, my brother lived downstairs and immediately came upstairs when I called him. Called 911. I went to the hospital. They did blood work, and that's when they determined that my potassium and my magnesium were dangerously low. They gave me a potassium IV, a burning, stinging potassium IV. Before they sent me home, they let me know that with a potassium deficiency, paralysis is right before death. So I need to make sure that I take the prescribed supplement. This should have been enough to stop me, but it wasn't. Even after my first collapse, I would still use crutches and my backpack to go to the local liquor store, even though I knew my drinking was literally killing me. I kept this up for another month or two until I finally lost all strength in my legs and only had enough to use the crutches to go to the bathroom and back, like just to get around my apartment. I lost the ability to leave my apartment. At that point, I became bedbound, and my boyfriend moved in with me to take care of me, only leaving to go to work and come back. The only reason I stopped drinking at this point was because I didn't have lack of access. That's it, because I was quickly losing my ability to walk, and that wasn't enough to stop me from crutching to the liquor store to get my gallon of gin. There was no way in hell I could have asked Joe to get it for me. He would have never agreed. I was bedbound for, I want to say, maybe 6 months, and slowly started getting strength back in my legs after taking the supplements. The doctor said it would take a while, and that it did. I cannot stress enough how painful the leg cramps are when you have a magnesium and potassium deficiency. I would stick my head in the pillow and scream because that's the only way I felt any relief. No amount of painkillers were helping. Eventually, slowly started getting better, where I could get around on crutches easier and for longer distances. This is after being bedbound for about 6 months. Guess what I did as soon as I could make my way down a flight of stairs? And I don't even mean walk down a flight of stairs. I went to the liquor store and got more gin. I think back at this time, and I'm not even ashamed or anything. I just feel so bad for her. I feel bad for me. I feel bad for the version of me that I was at that time. I feel so bad. I literally could not walk down the stairs still. So what I would do is, at the top of the stairs, I would slide my crutches down the stairs, and then I would sit down and go down the stairs on my bum. And on the second to the third last step, I would get up and then go to the liquor store. I literally could not go down a flight of stairs on my legs. I was going down a flight of stairs on my ass, and made sure to do that to go to the liquor store. And Joseph, he didn't know what to do. My mom saw that I started drinking again, and she didn't know what to do. Everyone was desperate. Like, they had no idea what they could do. But they can't lock me in the house. So that's when my mom and my sister had told my mom about this program that they have in Massachusetts, where if somebody is a danger to themselves, you can have them what's called sectioned and forced into rehab. So my mom went to court and had me committed into rehab because I was a danger to myself. One morning I was home alone, Joe was at work, and the cops knocked on my door at 6 a.m. I was already drunk because I had stayed up all night drinking, and they arrested me. Hold on, my oven is going off. Okay, took the chicken out of the oven. Coffee, obviously. When you get sectioned, they don't just automatically put you in rehab. I mean, they're most likely going to, but they have a psychiatrist come meet with you in the jail and determine whether you really are a danger to yourself, etc., etc. I saw this as my moment. Once I figured out what was going on, I was like, this is it. This is my moment. I can finally get the help I need. So I told everything to the psychiatrist. I didn't lie about a freaking thing. I told her everything, the full extent of my drinking, because I wanted to ensure I got into rehab. I went to rehab. The funny thing is that this was all unnecessary. They just talked to me. I mean, they tried talking to me about my drinking. That's not gonna do shit, right? But it's like, had they just said, we want you to go to rehab, we've arranged for it, I would have packed my bag so fast. Like, all they had to do was just tell me, we'll help you get in rehab. Just help me get in rehab. That's all I wanted. This could have all been avoided if they had just talked to me. That's kind of been a theme throughout my life. People always have things to say about me, but never just to me. Anyway, the first few days in rehab, I don't remember because they drug you up to make sure that you don't have seizures or anything. Because when you're coming off of alcohol and you're a raging alcoholic, you can literally die. So I was out for the first 3 days. But let me tell you, I thrived in rehab. I absolutely thrived in rehab. I loved it there. I loved the structure. Therapy, loved it. I was finally getting the help I needed, and I was living my best life. The only thing I missed was my boyfriend. But other than that, we wrote to each other every single day. Every day I wrote him a letter. From the morning to night, detailing my day. I knew that this was my moment to get all the help that I needed, and I was so happy to finally be getting the help that I needed, that I just absolutely thrived. When I got out of rehab, it was really far from where we lived. Like, at least it's a 2 to 3 hour drive. Same state, but it's pretty far. So when I got out, they dropped me off at the courthouse in my city, and nobody was there to meet me. I remember the courthouse was closed too, which is weird. It must have been a holiday. I don't remember that. Nobody was there. My boyfriend was there because he was working. He couldn't get out from work, and he felt awful about it. But he really thought that, like, my mom would at least be there to meet me. Nobody was there. They knew I was getting out. The whole time that I was in rehab, nobody reached out to me. My brother sent me a care package once, and I'm really grateful for that. But that's it. My boyfriend was my only support the entire time. My mom didn't write me once. Not once. And then when I got out of rehab and I walked home from me, it was like a mile and a half maybe from the courthouse to our apartment building. Nobody was there to meet me, so I walked home with my trash bag full of stuff, and I walked down the driveway to see the full contents of my apartment out in the backyard. I was unceremoniously and illegally kicked out of my apartment. That's what I came home from rehab to. Nobody came out to greet me. Nobody came out to ensure I was okay. I called my sister to see what was happening. I was crying. I was upset. I called my boyfriend. Honestly, I don't know what I would have done if it wasn't for Joe. I'm just getting out of rehab. I'm sober for the first time, and this is what greets me. Like, not even like family to nothing. So at that point, I was homeless, sober and homeless. Sober for the first time and homeless. That was rough. But the odd thing was that my sobriety was like a gift to me. That's the only thing I had. In my mind, I have nothing, literally nothing, but I have my sobriety, and I'm going to hold on to it. So Joe's mom agreed to take me in. I love that woman. I love her because at the time I'm sure she thought I was toxic for her son, because I was, but she didn't let me live in the street. She took me in, and I'll never forget that. We stayed with her for a while, and we wanted to move closer. And all this time, my son is with my sister, and my daughter is with my mom. So at least she did that, thank goodness. And avoided the kids having to go to foster care. They were for a while, and then we kind of wanted to move closer to where my kids were. So, because she lives closer to Boston, and my family lives closer to New Hampshire. So we moved to like a motel, like one of those seedy motels. And there I was able to get temp job. Like, I jumped from temp job to temp job. It was difficult to get a permanent job, and Joe was working. And I finally got a really good temp job where Joe covered our expenses, and I was able to save enough money to get for a down payment on an apartment. I was determined to get an apartment, and eventually found a cheap 1 bedroom, and we were lucky to get it there because there were a lot of people looking at it. And I eventually got hired at the company that I was working at, and I'm still there to this day. Fast forward to 2021, we bought our first house, this home. And later that same year, I finally went back to school. In 2023, I was diagnosed with autism. In 2024, I graduated from college. I'm still learning things about myself, but for me, I've always wondered what the hell happened in my 20s that caused me to go from being so happy and feeling so free and on top of the world, then go on this fast downward spiral and just not giving a fuck. What happened? I think it was my autism. A lifetime of being on survival mode caught up with me because I was no longer in survival mode, and my mind didn't know how to handle that. I was happy and I was chill, and my mind didn't know what to do with that. Now here I am today, celebrating 14 years of sobriety. I would have never pictured this for me. I cannot stress enough how impossible this seemed to me when I was in the throes of alcoholism. Do I crave alcohol sometimes? Sometimes I wish that I could crack open a cold one on a hot day, but I know that I can never just stop at one. I very quickly remind myself that I simply cannot drink, and that's okay. If there's one piece of advice that I could give, is to please ask for help. Don't be like me. If you genuinely want to quit, ask for help and understand that there is life after alcohol. Trust me, it feels amazing to not wake up in the morning like, oh God, what did I do last night? Why did I drink again? That feeling in the pit of your stomach. I still wake up with that feeling. 14 years later, I still wake up with that feeling. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't do anything last night. You know what I mean? I'm so conditioned to feel like that, to be able to be like, no, you're good. You didn't do anything. So that's my story of sobriety. I try to get through it as quickly as I can. I'm sorry if I look down the whole time. I feel awkward too because I feel like I'm being watched. But if you found this helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, if you have any stories you'd like to share, stories of yours you'd like to share, please let me know. Let's talk sobriety. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.
How wonderful people. Thanks for watching. This is my grandma's channel. And please like and subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you can be notified. You can comment, you can do whatever. Just please like and subscribe. Okay, goodbye.